Welcome to our exploration of a path where ancient wisdom and modern life converge upon something extraordinary. Sri Aurobindo's Integral Yoga, a transformative journey that deeply nurtures the mind and heart amidst the clamor of contemporary living. In these frenetic times, we find ourselves struggling with anxiety, restlessness, and an incessant mental chatter that steals away our peace. But what if there was a way to reclaim a profound calm that is not merely the absence of turmoil, but a radiant presence that infuses every moment with balance and clarity? Integral Yoga invites us to discover this luminous stillness, a sanctuary within where the mind settles beyond restlessness and the heart opens beyond fear. The essence of this practice does not lie in escaping the world or turning away from life's demands, but in embracing them with a consciousness that gradually transforms our inner nature. It teaches us that peace is not a distant goal, but the ground beneath our feet, patiently waiting to be acknowledged and made our home. Through steady and mindful engagement, Integral Yoga cultivates an inner stability, a mental harmony that gently silences the turbulence of anxiety and allows a serene joy to arise naturally. This is not about achieving temporary states of relaxation that fade the moment we encounter stress, but about developing a foundational peace that becomes our natural way of being regardless of external circumstances. This path encourages a comprehensive awakening, blending meditation, ethical living, subtle body awareness, and whole being integration to create a resilient mental foundation. Each practice is a step towards a mind that no longer sways with the winds of fear and worry, but remains anchored in the deeper truth of our being. Facing daily challenges with an awakened heart and an uncluttered mind, we find the strength not just to endure, but to flourish. The beauty of Integral Yoga lies in its recognition that every aspect of our existence, physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, must be invited into the process of transformation for true peace to emerge and remain stable. Stories abound of those who, overwhelmed by restlessness, have found profound relief through these teachings, not by suppressing thoughts, but by lovingly observing and transforming them. Through breath, awareness, and gentle disciplines, anxiety loosens its grip, revealing a clarity that was always present beneath the surface noise. Research has consistently shown that integrated yoga practices significantly reduce anxiety and frustration, whilst enhancing emotional balance and mental clarity. This is the promise of Integral Yoga, a peaceful mind and a joyful heart, available to anyone willing to undertake its transformative practice with sincerity and patience. What makes this approach particularly powerful is its understanding that anxiety and restlessness are not enemies to be fought, but symptoms of a consciousness that has temporarily forgotten its true nature. When we practice Integral Yoga, we're not battling against our difficulties, but gradually awakening to a deeper identity that naturally dissolves the conditions that create mental turbulence. The mind becomes still not through force or suppression, but through recognition of its own inherent peace and the cultivation of practices that support this natural state. Importantly, this journey is accessible in the rhythm of daily life. You do not need to retreat to distant ashrams or dedicate hours to withdrawal. Instead, with simple but sincere practices, we can meet work, relationships, and even moments of solitude as opportunities for inner growth and peace. The very situations that might trigger anxiety can become doorways to deeper understanding and expanded consciousness when approached with the principles and practices of Integral Yoga. This transforms our entire relationship with challenge and difficulty from sources of stress into catalysts for spiritual development. The comprehensive nature of this path means that it addresses not only the symptoms of mental unrest, but also the underlying patterns and conditioning that create them. By working simultaneously with physical postures, breathing practices, meditation techniques, and ethical guidelines, we create multiple pathways for transformation to occur. This multidimensional approach ensures that changes are not superficial or temporary, but create lasting shifts in our fundamental way of being in the world. One of the most remarkable aspects of Sri Aurobindo's approach is its recognition that true spiritual development serves not only individual well-being, but also our capacity to contribute meaningfully to the world around us. As we cultivate inner peace through integral yoga, we naturally become sources of calm and wisdom for others who are struggling with their own anxiety and restlessness. This creates a beautiful cycle where personal transformation supports collective healing, and our individual practice becomes an offering to the greater good. The practices themselves are designed to be sustainable and realistic for people living active lives in contemporary society, rather than requiring extreme disciplines or lifestyle changes that might be impractical for most people. Integral yoga offers gradual and gentle methods that can be integrated into existing routines and responsibilities. This makes it an ideal path for those who want to address anxiety and mental agitation without having to completely restructure their lives or abandon their worldly commitments. As we begin this exploration together, it's important to understand that the peace we seek through integral yoga is not a passive state of withdrawal from life, but an active and dynamic harmony that enhances our engagement with all aspects of existence. This peace gives us the clarity to make wise decisions, the strength to handle challenges with grace, and the openness to experience joy and connection even in difficult circumstances. It transforms not only how we feel internally, but also how we relate to others and contribute to the world around us. The practical foundation of bringing peace to mind and heart through integral yoga begins with understanding that our mental agitation often stems from a fundamental disconnect between our surface consciousness and our deeper spiritual nature. When anxiety arises, it's typically because we've identified ourselves entirely with the thinking mind and its endless stream of worries, plans, and reactions to external circumstances. Integral yoga gently guides us to recognize that we are far more than our thoughts and emotions, helping us to establish our sense of identity in a deeper, more stable dimension of consciousness that remains peaceful regardless of mental or emotional turbulence. The breathing practices within this tradition serve as perhaps the most accessible and immediate gateway to inner calm. When we consciously regulate the breath, we're directly influencing the nervous system's capacity to shift from states of arousal and anxiety into states of relaxation and clarity. But in integral yoga, pranayama is not merely a relaxation technique, it's a method of connecting with the life force itself, the vital energy that animates our being and can be consciously directed to heal and harmonize all aspects of our experience. Regular practice of conscious breathing naturally reduces the intensity and frequency of anxious thoughts, whilst increasing our overall sense of vitality and well-being. Meditation within the integral yoga framework differs from many contemporary approaches because it's not solely about emptying the mind or achieving particular states of consciousness. Instead, it's about developing what Sri Aurobindo called the witness consciousness, the capacity to observe our thoughts, emotions, and sensations without being overwhelmed or controlled by them. This creates space between our essential self and the fluctuations of mental activity, allowing us to respond to situations from wisdom rather than react from anxiety or habit. Through sustained practice, this witnessing awareness becomes our natural way of engaging with life, providing a constant source of inner stability. The physical practices asanas and movement are understood not as mere exercise, but as ways of cultivating harmony between the body and consciousness. When the body is relaxed, aligned, and energized through appropriate yogic practices, it becomes a supportive foundation for mental peace rather than a source of tension and distraction. Many people discover that addressing physical holding patterns and cultivating body awareness significantly reduces their experience of anxiety and restlessness, as these mental states are often accompanied by and reinforced by physical tension and disconnection. Perhaps most importantly, integral yoga addresses the ethical and psychological dimensions that contribute to mental unrest. Much of our anxiety stems from internal conflicts between our actions and our deeper values, from relationships that lack authenticity, or from pursuits that don't align with our true purpose. Through the practice of ethical living and conscious choice-making, we begin to eliminate many of the external sources of stress and internal conflict that fuel ongoing anxiety. This creates conditions where peace can naturally flourish, rather than constantly being disrupted by lifestyle choices that work against our well-being. The devotional aspect of this path bhakti transforms our relationship with difficulty itself. Instead of seeing anxiety and restlessness as personal failures or insurmountable problems, we learn to offer these experiences to the divine consciousness within us, trusting that they can be transformed through grace and surrender. This doesn't mean becoming passive or avoiding practical steps to address our challenges, but rather approaching them with humility and openness to guidance from deeper sources of wisdom than our worried thinking mind can provide. One of the most liberating aspects of this approach is its recognition that we don't have to perfect ourselves or eliminate all difficult emotions in order to experience profound peace. Instead, we learn to hold all of our experiences, including anxiety and restlessness, within a larger context of acceptance and compassion. This creates space for natural healing to occur without the additional stress of fighting against ourselves or judging our human reactions to life's complexities. The integration of karma yoga selfless service provides a powerful antidote to the self-absorption that often accompanies anxiety disorders. When we focus our attention on how we can contribute to others' well-being, rather than constantly monitoring our own internal states, we naturally break the cycle of anxious self-preoccupation. This doesn't mean ignoring our needs or avoiding appropriate self-care, but rather expanding our sense of purpose beyond personal comfort to include meaningful contribution to the world around us. Regular practitioners often report that one of the most profound shifts comes from developing trust in the process of life itself. Through sustained practice, we begin to experience directly that there is an intelligence operating in existence that is far wiser than our planning minds, and that our deepest well-being comes from learning to cooperate with this intelligence rather than constantly trying to control outcomes through worry and manipulation. This trust doesn't develop overnight, but grows gradually through repeated experiences of support and guidance that emerge when we practice surrender and receptivity. The community aspect of integral yoga provides essential support for those dealing with anxiety and isolation. Sharing the journey with others who understand the challenges and victories of inner work creates a sense of belonging and mutual encouragement that can be profoundly healing. Many people find that their individual practice deepens significantly when supported by connection with others who are committed to similar paths of growth and service. As we explore these dimensions of practice together, it's important to remember that transformation happens gradually and gently. There's no timeline for achieving perfect peace, no standard against which to measure your progress except the gradual increase in your capacity to meet life's situations with greater calm, wisdom, and love. Each moment of practice, however small, contributes to the overall shift towards a more peaceful and fulfilling way of being. You know, as I share these insights about finding peace through integral yoga, I'm deeply moved by the recognition that anxiety and restlessness, whilst genuinely challenging, are also signs that our souls are calling us towards something greater than what we've been settling for. If you're feeling this calling, if these approaches to inner peace are stirring something hopeful in your heart, then you're already part of a beautiful community of seekers who understand that true healing comes from within. This isn't just another self-help channel asking for your subscription. It's a space where we explore together how ancient wisdom can transform contemporary suffering into genuine peace and purpose. I'd be honored if you'd join our ongoing exploration by subscribing. But what touches me even more is knowing that your own journey towards inner peace contributes to healing in our world. What aspects of anxiety or restlessness feel most familiar to you? And where have you found moments of unexpected calm or clarity in your life? The deepest gift of integral yoga in addressing anxiety and restlessness lies in its capacity to transform these challenging experiences from obstacles into gateways for spiritual awakening and personal evolution. What many people don't realize is that the very sensitivity that makes us prone to anxiety is often the same quality that makes us capable of profound spiritual insight and compassionate service. Rather than trying to eliminate our sensitivity or numb ourselves to life's intensity, integral yoga teaches us how to channel this receptivity towards higher consciousness and meaningful contribution, transforming what feels like a vulnerability into a strength that serves both our own development and the healing of our world. This transformation occurs through what Sri Aurobindo called the process of conscious evolution, the deliberate participation in our own development towards greater wisdom, love, and creative capacity. When we experience anxiety or restlessness, these states are often signals that our consciousness is ready to evolve beyond current limitations, but doesn't yet know how to make this transition. Through the practices of integral yoga, we provide a safe and supportive framework for this evolutionary movement to occur, gradually developing new capacities for peace, clarity, and resilience that weren't accessible from our previous level of functioning. The understanding that emerges through sustained practice is that true peace is not the absence of challenge or the elimination of all difficulties, but rather the presence of an unshakable foundation within consciousness that remains stable regardless of external circumstances or internal fluctuations. This peace is discovered to be our natural state, not something we have to create or achieve, but something we learn to recognize and rest in more consistently. This recognition brings tremendous relief because it means we don't have to fix ourselves or become different people in order to experience the peace we seek. We simply need to remember and return to what we essentially are beneath all the conditioning and reactivity. One of the most profound aspects of this journey is discovering that anxiety and restlessness often carry within them important information about our life direction and spiritual development. When we learn to listen to these experiences with compassion rather than immediately trying to eliminate them, we often discover that they're pointing us towards changes we need to make, gifts we need to develop, or services we're being called to offer. This transforms our relationship with difficult emotions from adversarial to collaborative, creating space for guidance and wisdom to emerge from sources deeper than our analytical minds. The practice of surrender, one of the central elements of integral yoga, becomes particularly powerful when applied to our struggles with mental unrest. Surrender doesn't mean giving up or becoming passive, but rather releasing our grip on how we think things should be and opening ourselves to wisdom and support that come from beyond our limited personal perspectives. Many practitioners discover that their most significant breakthroughs in finding peace come not through their own efforts alone, but through moments of genuine surrender when they allow something greater than their worried minds to take care of them and guide their responses to life's challenges. The integration of jnana, yoga, the path of wisdom, helps us to understand the deeper causes of anxiety and the ultimate nature of peace in ways that can profoundly shift our entire worldview. Through study and contemplation of spiritual teachings, combined with direct experience through practice, we begin to understand that much of our suffering comes from mistaken beliefs about who we are and what we need for genuine well-being. This understanding naturally dissolves many of the mental patterns that create and maintain anxiety, replacing them with perspectives that support peace and confidence in life's essential goodness and intelligence. The culmination of this path is not the achievement of a permanently peaceful state that never experiences difficulty, but rather the development of what we might call dynamic peace, a quality of consciousness that can remain centered and responsive even in the midst of challenging circumstances. This peace is not static or withdrawn from life, but actively engaged and creatively responsive to whatever situations arise. People who develop this quality often find that they're able to be much more effective in their work and relationships, precisely because they're not being driven by anxiety or caught in patterns of reactive behavior. Perhaps most beautifully, this journey reveals that our individual healing and growth naturally contributes to the healing and evolution of consciousness in our world. As we develop greater peace and wisdom through integral yoga, we become sources of stability and insight for others who are struggling with similar challenges. This creates ripple effects that extend far beyond our personal lives, contributing to the emergence of more conscious and compassionate ways of being that our world desperately needs. The practices themselves continue to deepen and evolve as we mature in our understanding and commitment. What begins as techniques for managing anxiety gradually transforms into a complete way of life that integrates spiritual awareness with practical effectiveness and loving service. This evolution happens naturally and organically as we allow the teachings to work on us over time, creating changes that are sustainable and authentic rather than forced or superficial. The ultimate recognition that emerges through this path is that peace, love, and wisdom are not personal possessions to be acquired and protected, but rather qualities of universal consciousness that we learn to express and share more freely. This understanding brings tremendous freedom from the burden of trying to create and maintain our own happiness, replacing it with the joy of participating consciously in the ongoing creation and evolution of love and wisdom in our world. As we conclude this exploration into how integral yoga brings peace to mind and heart, my heart overflows with gratitude for every soul who feels called to transform their relationship with anxiety and restlessness through this profound path of inner development. The journey we've explored together isn't just about personal healing, though that's certainly important, about discovering how our individual awakening to peace and wisdom can serve the collective healing that our world so desperately needs. If these insights have touched something real in your experience, if you can sense the possibility of transforming your relationship with anxiety into a gateway for spiritual growth and meaningful service, then you're already walking this beautiful path of conscious evolution. I would be deeply honored if you'd continue this journey with us by subscribing to our channel. But what moves me most is hearing about your own discoveries along this path of inner transformation. What practices or insights have helped you find moments of genuine peace amidst life's challenges? How has your experience with anxiety or restlessness taught you about your deeper nature and calling? What aspects of integral yoga most intrigue you as potential pathways for healing and growth? Please share your experiences, questions, and insights in the comments below. Your journey towards peace illuminates possibilities for all of us who are learning to transform our struggles into stepping stones towards greater love, wisdom, and service. This exploration isn't just about understanding spiritual teachings. It's about discovering practical pathways for living with greater peace, purpose, and joy in a world that needs the unique gifts that emerge when we learn to meet life's challenges from our deepest wisdom and most compassionate hearts.